It started with a stumble on a staircase. A woman missed a step, her heel sliding into empty space, and the world around her softened like wax. The air thickened. The sound of her gasp stretched into a long ribbon. Dust motes that had been falling too fast suddenly hovered, each one a tiny planet suspended in light. She had time, impossible, generous time, to grab the railing, to correct her balance, to feel her heart slam against her ribs in a slow, deliberate rhythm. When her foot found the stair again, the world snapped back to normal speed as if nothing had happened. She told no one. How could she? Fear had always been private. But the next day, a driver on a highway saw a truck drift into his lane and felt terror bloom in his chest. The sun's glare stopped shimmering and became a still sheet of brightness. The truck's grill crept toward him like an approaching cliff. He turned the wheel with a calm he did not deserve, sliding into safety through a gap that should never have existed. Later, replaying it in his head, he realized he had watched individual grains of asphalt roll beneath his tires. Within a week, people began to notice patterns they couldn't name. Near misses turned into perfect evasions. Falls ended in graceful catches. Street fights froze into awkward statues whenever a punch inspired true fear, giving the terrified just enough time to step away. Accidents still happen. Fear wasn't always fast enough, and some people didn't feel it until too late. But the world's death toll quietly dipped. Then someone filmed it. A shaky video from a subway platform showed a man slipping near the edge as a train arrived. The moment his eyes widened, everything else seemed to move like it was underwater. The train's headlights crawled. His coat fluttered in slow motion. A stranger's hand reached out and pulled him back, a simple action that looked like a miracle. The clip went viral, and the comments weren't about bravery. They were about the physics of panic. Scientists argued first, as they always did. They tested reaction times, brain chemistry, hormonal spikes. But no theory explained why the entire environment slowed, not just perception. Cameras caught it. Clocks stuttered. A hummingbird's wings became countable. Time itself bent around fear like gravity around mass. Fear became a new resource, dangerous, unpredictable, and valuable. Athletes learned to summon it before critical moments. A climber would glance down at the abyss, feel the chill of possible death, and suddenly have longer to choose the next hold. Surgeons discovered that if they could truly fear a mistake, not just worry, but feel primal dread, their hands moved through a syrupy world where every millimeter could be corrected. Pilots started training not to suppress fear, but to harness it. The cost appeared slowly. People who lived with constant anxiety began to drift out of sync with everyone else. To them, the world was an endless, slow crawl, days stretching like taffy. Their hearts battered them for hours while everyone else lived minutes. They watched friends laugh and move too quickly, like sped-up videos. They aged in a different rhythm, not in years, but in exhaustion. Therapists called it temporal fatigue. Patients called it hell. Governments tried to regulate fear the way they regulated drugs. Some cities built slow zones for emergencies, places where controlled fear could buy time during disasters. Insurance companies demanded fear assessments. Employers screened for time benders, wanting workers who could stretch deadlines in moments of crisis, and rejecting those whose anxious minds would slow productivity into ruin. On the streets, a new crime emerged: manufactured fear. Gangs staged terrors to slow time and steal in the stretched seconds. But fear didn't obey greed. Sometimes it slowed the wrong person's world. Sometimes it slowed everyone's. Then came the day the system broke. A small plane lost power over a crowded stadium. Thousands looked up at the sputtering engine and felt the same sharp terror at once. Time did not slow. It collapsed into something vast and still. The roar of the crowd became a low, endless note. Paper cups hung in midair. The plane hovered as if the sky had turned to glass. In that impossible pause, people ran, slowly, carefully, as if wading through honey, pulling strangers from aisles, lifting children over rails, clearing a space that should have been impossible to clear. The plane struck the field with the gentlest crash anyone had ever seen. When the world resumed, People stood trembling, surrounded by the wreckage that could have been a massacre. They had saved each other not through courage, but through a shared moment of fear, strong enough to rewrite the rules. After that, no one could pretend fear was only weakness. It was a signal, a lever, a hidden mercy stitched into the fabric of time. But it was also a reminder that the most fragile minds paid the highest price for the gift. In the years that followed, people learned a strange new discipline: to respect fear without feeding it, to listen to it without living inside it. Because time might slow to keep you alive, but if you let fear rule you, it could steal your life by stretching every second until it became unbearable.